let's bring in my colleague from the NFL Network, NFL Media Insider, Mike Garafolo is with us. Mike, it is fantastic to see you today. Let's jump right in. Big injuries from Sunday's games. Puka Nacua, an odd situation where he goes down grabbing his ankle. You can't tell what happened. They announce he's got a foot, comes back in the game. Then Sean McVay says it's an ankle. Where do we actually stand on Puka, his health, and his availability here moving forward?
Hi, Tom. I cut my head off. Hold on. There we go. It's better.
There's still no hair.
Yeah.
Hey, wow.
We can go kind of right there. I think that's a good spot.
Beautiful.
Probably should have done this before you popped me up. Puka has a ankle sprain that is of the non-high variety, which leaves the mid and the low. We're narrowing it down. I still don't know when it occurred, to be honest with you, because you're watching the whole play. He's sort of like you're always looking for when a guy goes up and comes down, like, oh, the impact coming down. He sort of landed on top of the defender. So I think it happened on the takeoff or maybe the step before that. So it is an ankle sprain. Sean McVay called him day to day today. It sounds like he was in pain, a lot of pain yesterday, and swelling, obviously, which you get with an ankle sprain as well. It's always tough to tell these things 6-7 days out if it's more of a day to day rather than a week to week thing. Like high ankle sprain, it's like, okay, 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, whatever. You sort of know that guy's not playing. This is in somewhere in between that, and he does have the bye after this one, so it could be 2 weeks to allow him to rest fully and come back. The Rams are in a pretty good spot. It almost feels like one of those, if it happened late in the season, it's a crucial game or it's a playoff game or something like that. He's playing, he's not going to be 100%, but he's going to battle through those kind of things. Now it's in that area of it's not late in the season. You're in a decent spot. Can you get by without him this week, which you never sort of want to do that. I feel like the Eagles and Jalen Carter sort of did that last week. It's like, well, we can win this game without him. Like, we'll be okay. And it's like, oops, could have really used him. So the international flight, as you mentioned it with J.J. McCarthy a couple of weeks ago, always sort of a factor here as well. So we'll see how it goes with Puka. Ask me right now, I would say he's a no-go this week. I'd probably lean more that way, but we'll see as the week goes on how he feels.
You mentioned the Eagles. You're a Philly guy. You know that team inside and out. Where they stand right now, and again, they're still very much in the thick of the playoff race, as much as it feels like the walls are closing in from the media and fans and the public right now. You're still 4-2. You're still seemingly in a good spot to make a run, but there's so many different issues, particularly coming out of that Thursday game. What changes, if anything, do you see them making, even if it's just tweaks, processes, and things like that, to try to get the offense in particular headed the right direction here?
Like they've already been doing them. That's the hard part. It's like, well, all right, well, we're going to get man coverage against the Giants. We can throw some 50-50 balls. Jalen Hurts did that and connected on the ball to A.J. Brown up the sideline. I mean, even go back to the week before. It was like, oh, A.J. wants the ball. It was a series where it was like incomplete, or 7-yard catchers. It was like 1 of 3 for like 7 yards, and they punted to A.J. All 3 to A.J. Brown. They've been trying all this stuff. And we're going to do a segment on the show tomorrow night on the Insiders. And I'm still working on it. Baldy's going to be in it with me. This is probably the first you're hearing of it.
Am I in this?
Yeah. I don't know. But I said, here's what I want to do. Because every time in Philadelphia that the offense is struggling, the P word comes out. Predictable. It's too predictable. It was predictable last year when they were running simple zone runs and Saquon was taking them to the house, right? Like everybody knew what they were going to do there. They were still executing. They were still moving guys off the ball. I think one of the biggest problems right now is that this offensive line, it doesn't have Mekhi Becton, who was an absolute mauler last year. So that was a big loss. And they're banged up. Like Landon Dickerson didn't play the other night. Quinyon Mitchell got hurt in the middle of the game. Jalen Carter didn't play. All 3 of those guys missing showed up. So it's like, it's too predictable. It's too this. It's not one thing. It's a lot of things with the Eagles right now. And the pressure of, I know we talk about the Super Bowl hangover for the team that lost a lot, but the Super Bowl hangover for this team that won is a very real thing here. Obviously, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley, that love triangle, are not all on the same page here and have tried to get on the same page and are going to still have to, like, this to me felt like a everybody get away from everybody else weekend for the Eagles. Really believe that. And the coaches, I don't think were in Saturday or Sunday. I think they really said, like, let's get away. They did some work after the game on Friday, but it was like, let's get away, reset, come back, and try to get on the same page in so many ways.
So how does Howie Roseman handle the next 22 days leading up to the trade deadline? Mike, you know this. You talk to any other team, it's Howie's always in on every deal. He always calls. We trade somebody, he's like, why didn't you call me? He always wants to be involved.
Yeah.
Pretty rare that he's a seller, and I don't anticipate that being the case here. But to the extent that you do, as you refer to it, have the love triangle that's not quite isosceles at this point here. Is there a world in which he would do something as drastic as trading away an A.J. Brown?
I mean, I can't rule it completely out. When you have the conversations with people down there, they said, no way. Like, they've been calling since the offseason. It's not going to happen. I just don't know what the next couple of weeks is going to bring. If this thing gets worse, like AJ's body language after the game, and I'm not saying this in a negative way or talking down to him, like just watching him and seeing how uncomfortable he was. And, the whole, well, I don't know what meeting. I don't know if there was no meeting. There was no meeting. Like, he knew what we were talking about. He knew what he was being asked about. He could have easily said, like, look, what he did the next day, by the way, which was, I was walking to my car. I saw these guys. We started talking. That's what happened. Ian had already reported it. Our colleague Ian had already reported that it happened in the parking lot and it wasn't a scheduled thing. So he could have just, I mean, AJ surely didn't see it because he was getting ready for him playing in that game. But he could have said exactly what he said. And it was so uncomfortable. It was almost defeated body language. And I don't want to use these words and everybody go, oh, yeah, because you can come back from this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that they're dead and start throwing dirt on them, but it just is a lot of work that needs to be done. And I think it's going to be a two-part process. I think it's this mini buy here that they were in the middle of. Well, they're going to get back to work, I guess, today or tomorrow. And then the real buy is coming up in 2 weeks. I feel like it's going to be a two-part process for this team that really needed to take a breath and say, a year ago, we badly needed to buy. We didn't lose a game after that. We spent the weekend talking about how, what we were comfortable with. Jalen Hurts had a lot of communication with Nick Sirianni, what he's comfortable with, what went the offense. Like, that's the kind of stuff that's got to happen now. And you've got to believe that it can get you back to the right place. But there's a lot going on, Tom, a lot.
They face a Vikings team on Sunday that, as I reported yesterday, the quarterback situation murky to say the least. Kevin O'Connell at the podium right now saying J.J. McCarthy will be back to practice this week. But my understanding is not 100%. Carson Wentz dealing with the left shoulder.
I need the Wentz revenge game.
There are a lot, and you may well get it here, assuming that he can hold up through the course of the practice week. Probably going to be limited out there, but an opportunity maybe to catch a Minnesota team that's getting healthier, but still has some moving parts. Tell me about the Jets as we talk to Mike Garafolo, NFL Media Insider, my co-host on the Insiders on NFL Network. You're 0-6, right, at this point if you're the Jets. I don't think that anybody going into the season thought this would be the last winless team in the NFL. I mean, forget playoffs, forget playing relevant football in December. You're trying to win a game at this point, and you're also just trying to get some type of positive momentum and something to happen in a positive direction here instead of answering questions about, are you going to bench the quarterback? Why aren't you running a play in the last 37 seconds of the first half? How dire in the big picture, forget 2025, Mike, how dire, if at all, is the state of the New York Jets right now?
It's a lot of, like, when Garrett Wilson is in the post-game locker room telling you that he didn't care for what the coach had to explain to him at the end of the first half. Like, that's bad, especially a guy that you just signed. And you like I almost went through the head of like, oh, is Garrett Wilson? No, he just signed a deal. Right. You've committed to him. You've made him a foundational cornerstone piece of this team here. Aaron Glenn, for all the talk, how many, they had fewer penalties yesterday. How many, I don't know how many they wound up with, but the weeks before, where it was like all summer long, we got to cut down the penalties. We got to cut down the penalties. We got to cut, and it's just penalty after penalty for these guys. Yesterday they had 2. Okay, so that's better, obviously. But like, you need to start seeing some of the stuff that Aaron Glenn is talking about. Tough football, fundamentally sound football, all the things that Dan Campbell has preached and executed upon with the Detroit Lions, which is where he came from. Like, you're not seeing that. And I understand it's going to be a process. And he says, hey, guys, it's going to take time. It is going to take time. But Mike Vaccaro, a longtime columnist for the New York Post yesterday, putting out a post on X saying every instinct Aaron Glenn has is wrong. we're not even at Halloween yet. Like, that's a lot of time for these guys to keep saying this kind of stuff and making grand proclamations that ownership is going to see, and ownership is sensitive to, and has been in the past for sure. So it's just a lot of time left for this echo chamber to really start saying some things that could register with ownership with this team. So that's sort of where I stand on it, where I look at it, and I wonder what happens if this really does not. I don't even want to say turn around. It's almost like I sort of lump the Giants in the same kind of thing because they're in the same market. So I think it's fair to say, like, you don't have to make the playoffs, but it's got to look like this. It's got to be
arrow pointed up
and entertaining and competitive. And it's starting to, like, you sort of have to start to see those things from the Jets, and we're not right now. And I wonder at what point we start having some really different, serious conversations.
One of the trends, I think, across the NFL, too, to look at the flip side of this, is the number of the good teams or the teams that have won so far that are also utterly devastated by injuries at this point. The Bucs win yesterday. Baker Mayfield's out there making big plays without his top 4 wide receivers. They've had all kinds of offensive line issues, and they're playing a 49ers team, Mike, that it was already about as bad as anybody in the NFL, and then you lose your all-pro linebacker, Fred Warner. In your mind, what are the chances, if any, that the 49ers, who, again, they've been in this spot, like once every 2-3 years, they seem to have a season like this. How likely, if at all, is it that this is still a team that can make a push and get into the playoffs, given everybody who's not on the field?
Yeah, they are, as I was communicating with someone there yesterday, and I said, it's like getting both of your legs, Bosa and Fred Warner, getting both of your legs cut off and being asked to continue in the ass-kicking contest. Can I say kicking?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
We're on Disney Plus, but I think you're fine.
Listen, I've seen some stuff on Disney, but I watched Sonora on Disney Plus.
We're on Disney Plus, Mike. All right.
Mike.
Yeah. You got to change the settings to find Sonora. I couldn't find it. I was like, I had to change it to, like, whatever. Anyway, I didn't think that was the best picture of the year last year, by the way, if you want to have that conversation.
I agree with you on that, Mike.
Yeah. What was the question? Oh, the 49ers. They're still alive, and they're still in the mix, and it's just a brutal loss yesterday because that guy does so much for the 49ers. And, I love linebackers that still matter, right? Like when Zach Bond got big money last year and had the year that he had on a Super Bowl winning team, like, that's awesome. Because I thought the linebacker position was sort of going the way of previously of the running back position. I'm like, that's good. Off the ball linebackers, love them. That's what I grew up watching. So Fred Taylor does it better than anybody. The only reason I say, like, they're still alive is they had been anyway relying upon rookies and young guys and guys that really had to come along with this defense. And they were hoping, like, late in the season, okay, these guys are going to start, following in the way of Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Now they got to, like, sub in for those guys. They got to take over for those guys. So that makes it a whole lot tougher. But they do feel good about these guys. And I could still see them being aggressive and making a move at the deadline, which they've been have done before in the past. John Lynch has done before in the past. So I think you make a move and you bring, whether it's a linebacker or an edge rusher. We know that they've been having conversations about edge rusher, and maybe you find a way to piece this thing together. Coming into the year, and I don't make official predictions, but I was like, watch the Niners make the Super Bowl. Like, would not be surprised if they host the Super Bowl in their own building. I can't get there now. But I also can't see them sitting home in January. They've got too much talent on this team.
Last thing for you, Mike, 22 days out from the trade deadline here. You and I both had heard the same thing. You reported it yesterday on the Game Day show. Omarion Hampton on injured reserve. Not season ending, but this sounds like this is a more than 4-week injury. The Chargers, who got a lot out of Kamani Vidal yesterday, they've been poking around on running backs. There's other teams poking around on running backs. This is where things heat up. Just empty your notebook here in terms of what you're hearing right now in the trade market.
I honestly, if I watched that game yesterday and I see what Vidal did, and Haskins was in at the end of the game, he played the whole game, but he had a key block there at the end of the game as well. I thought that was a pretty good indication. Like, hey, maybe we can survive with these guys. Let's see. I mean, a lot of time that is, especially if it's not a long-term thing to make a trade at the running back position, you kind of go, okay. I think running backs are going to be interesting. The Breece Hall one, I've got a Jets fan friend of mine who's a close friend who's like, if they trade him, I'm done. I'm like, there's no way you're done. If you're not done by this point,
Yeah.
Like you had plenty of other stops you could have made. Breece Hall getting traded is not going to be the stop. We'll see. He's adamant that they should trade some other people, including Quinnen Williams. He's a big get Quinnen out of here and get something for him kind of guy. We'll see. Jet fans are crazy. They are all over me. But I think the running back position could be interesting. We'll see what happens with Breece. I agree with what Ian said on Alvin Kamara that he's going to play because that was the situation last year when he signed his extension.
Right.
He only wanted to play for the Saints and for his entire career. So I think that's going to wind up being the case for Alvin Kamara there. The edge rusher market's going to be interesting. I do think that the 49ers are going to wind up making a move for somebody at that position. You've got to do something at this point. So we'll see about the impact that they wind up having there. So, it's going to be a fun 3 weeks. I think we'll see some drip action along the way. And then that last week, we had what, like 5 or 6 last year on the last day of the trade deadline. I think we had some good, including Zadarius Smith, right? If I recall correctly, who just retired today. So,
Mike, thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time on The Insiders, where apparently you guys have planned the show, and I'm finding out about it now.
Just the second block of the show. That's all. I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, how could the offense be too predictable when it's Mike Groh as the offensive coordinator, and then a couple years later it's Brian Johnson, and a couple years later it's Kevin Patullo? Like, we got to just stop. Oh, it's predictable. Like, let's go deeper. And I understand, like, those guys, Patullo's got to be better, and Sirianni got to figure it out. But, like, you can't just be like, well, the offense is predictable. That's like my uncle sitting on the couch. Hey, put the flags away. Stop throwing the flag. Well, he was holding them, so you got to throw the flags.
The always unpredictable Mike Garafolo. Thank you very much, buddy. We will talk to you again soon.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.